to a woman at a theater,
Mm-hmm.
a movie theater.
Yeah.
I was going to like the Tuesday night special where they only charge half.
Right, super cheap.
And I walk in and there's no one in the theater but me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm seeing something that I don't necessarily even know what it is till I walk in there. And I sat down with my popcorn and stuff. And then this woman comes walking in, about my age, and she kind of walks in, looks around at all the empty seats, and then she comes down to the row I'm in and says, "Do you mind if I have that seat?" Pointing to the seat next to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not an idiot. If she wants the only seat that there's a person by in the place, she's obviously interested on some level. So I said, "Sure, come on, have a seat." And we did the whole, "Hello, my name is Blaine." And then the movie started, and we both shut up and watched the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then the movie was over, and we started collecting our garbage and stuff, and stood up and walked out of the theater. The whole time we're doing that, we're talking about the movie and what we think about it, and blah blah blah. And when we got to the parking lot, I said, "You want to go get a cup of coffee at a Denny's or something? I don't really want this conversation to stop." And she said, "That sounds great. And there's a Denny's right over there." So then we went to Denny's and we're there for 2 hours talking. And so I started dating her. She liked to cook meals for me, which I like to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And we entered phase 2, which is where you start finding out about someone's childhood, or who the most important person was to them, or who was the person they wish they could kill. And we're entering that phase, and she's checking me out, and I'm checking her out. And then I think the second dinner she cooked me, which was breakfast for dinner, pancakes and eggs and stuff. I said, "Listen, we had gotten into a thing where we went out every Saturday." I said, "I'm not going to be able to go out next Saturday. It's not that I don't want to go out. I do. I've enjoyed these dates very much. But next Saturday, I'm going to be in Tennessee going through a cave." And she said, "What?" And so I explained caving to her. And as I'm explaining caving to her, her face is slowly going. But I can't, once I start, I'm not just going to stop talking.
Right.
So I kind of gave her a basic thumbnail of what we did. And then she said, "You can't do that. You could die." And I did I do a lot of research ahead of time. I'm not going in there stupid. I know what I'm doing. I'm not going to die. And then she said, no, I can't date somebody who might just die all of a sudden."
Anybody might just die all of a sudden.
Right.
Well, yeah, there's that too, right? Yeah.
And then she said, "I'm sorry, but this has to be our last date. And here's your coat." And then she basically, nicely, but basically told me to leave. And so I left, and I went, "Well, shit. That was cool.
Right.
But do I really want to enter a long-term relationship with someone who's going to have a problem with me going caving?" That would be a problem for me, because that was one of the funnest things I was doing at that time in my life. Well, fast forward, I don't know how many years exactly, I want to say 5 or 6, and I discovered Nicki in my father's RV as our 2 families are going down to the Kite Festival, and all the grown-ups, her parents and my parents, chose to sit in the front of the RV, so we just sat in the back. So there was a definite social break between the 2 groups. Not that her mom didn't come down every few minutes to check on us and see how we were doing, but so we started talking, and I mean, she's an adult now, she has a life, so I'm learning stuff I didn't know about her, and everything I'm learning about her makes me like her more. And we get to the Kite Festival, and I start to go, "Oh, now what's my move here? I don't want to be too aggressive and scare her off, but I don't want an opportunity to go by. And I spent my time at the kite festival walking around the beach trying to figure out the best way to talk to her about the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, I didn't say much about the situation, but I did at the end of the day get a whole, well, we should go to a movie together sometime. And then I started dating her.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of a little side note. After I'd been dating her, for a couple months, I went to Chicago for some event, and I told them, "Hey, I've got a girlfriend," and Dave had 101 questions for me,
Mm-hmm.
and I was happy to answer them because they all involved me having a girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going, this and this, and does she do that? And have you done this? And have you actually used the word love? And, stuff like that. And I'm answering for a few minutes. And then I kind of go, I'm pretty sure that we're having a relationship, that we're, falling for each other. And he said, if I were you, the first thing I'd do when I get home is be blatantly honest with her about how you feel to get her to be honest with you about how she feels, so you're not making some horrible mistake. So basically, Dave didn't think it could be possible that I actually found a girl to date. And that was a big change in Dave and I's relationship, because as he told me all this stuff, he then said, now, if it turns out that she is not dating you, I can show you how to find Russians online who you can, if you pay for their plane ticket to come to America, they'll get married with you, for short, like 5 years, but for at least 5 years, you'll have a woman, I can help you with that, And I'm just like, boy, Dave cannot help me in this particular area at all, because he has made assumptions I don't necessarily understand, but I know they're not my assumptions. And even if I was poor and lonely, I don't think I would systematically try to get a wife like that,
Yeah, the mail order bride is not.
Now, when
I
I went,
found a couple people who did that.
yeah, and I'm saying I wouldn't do that.
Oh, I know. I'm
Yeah.
just saying
Yeah.
that. But
Actually, I learned, because some people I knew did that actually people do this.
Mm-hmm.
But now, to be honest, the first thing I did when I went back home after that meeting with Dave was bring it out into the open with Nick and make sure we were both on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
And she indicated that we were, and which made me very happy. And so then I think that the tenor of the dating shifted a little bit. And one of the first things we talked about of a serious nature was Nicki had a rule. She doesn't even want to talk about marriage until we've been dating for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, hey, I am cool with that rule. That's a good rule.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just date and have fun, and when we've been doing it for a year, we'll reevaluate, So we just started dating and having fun and, enjoying our time in Dearborn, and 2 o'clock in the morning runs to the local Chinese restaurant, and we dated. And then all of a sudden, it's been a year. And I basically say, it's been a year, where are we? Now I am thinking to myself, I want to marry this person.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not confident enough to know what Nicki's thinking at that time. And basically, she says, oh, I have some issues that we need to talk about, and we talk about these 2 or 3 things that she's like, this needs to be this way. And like one of them was she was in her final year of PhD, and she's like, I worked for 100 years to get this PhD, and I want to be a professor, and I want to be a professor at a very specific kind of school. So I'm gonna at some point gonna move to I don't know where, and that's not something that's negotiable. You have to be willing to move with me. And I said, I'm there. I can get my job anywhere.
Right.
Because that's when I was doing the mental health counseling.
Right, which is a need everywhere you go.
Yeah, every mental health hospital doesn't have enough staff. So I was like, I can get a job anywhere, so that's not a problem. And we kind of moved into we're not formally engaged, but we're now talking about wedding stuff. When would we do a wedding? What time of year? What kind of wedding would it be? That kind of stuff. And I decide it's time to actually get engaged, and I go out to buy a ring and discover how incredibly expensive rings are.
Yep.
And go, I can't afford a real diamond, size ring. What am I going to do? And I thought, well, her birthstone is aquamarine, which was significantly cheaper. So I'll design a ring for her using an aquamarine stone, and that will be our engagement ring. And down the road, if I need to, I can have that ring remade and made better if that's what she wants. So I go to a ring shop in a mall and tell them this is what I want, and I knew exactly what I wanted. I wanted a engagement ring that basically looks like my mother's, but instead of the diamond has an aquamarine. My mom her birthstone was a diamond. And I tell him all this, and I'm like going, man, I'm about to give this guy a lot of money, and I don't know if he's good. He could sell me a piece of shit, but I'm like, but this is where I am in the process. I got to take a risk, and so I did that, and then I'm like, okay, now where am I going to do this? And right about the time that I start thinking about that, we get a phone call from her parents saying, and I want to say this is like September.
Probably, yeah.
We get a phone call from her parents saying, okay, this Christmas, we're going to rent a house down in Orlando for a long weekend. And then we're going to go to like Disneyland, and there's a movie studio there. And we're going to go to these giant attractions that are all in the same place in Florida. And we're all going to stay at a house that we rent together. And we want to invite you and your sister. And
It was the last family get together before Kathy's baby was born.
Her husband was still in college, but she was out, but she was really pregnant. And if you guys want to come, we'd love to have you. And this is how much your cost would be. Now, I don't know if you told them about me or they already knew about me.
What do you mean?
I mean, did they go, now we know you're dating Blaine, if you want to bring Blaine, that's okay. Or did you say, is that how it happened?
Yeah.
Okay. Because remember, her dad and my dad are friends, and my dad knew for sure, because I was crowing like whatever that I had a girlfriend. So they said, and you can bring Blaine if you want to. And we talked about it, and we said it sounded like a lot of fun. So we said yes. And I went, and that's where I'm going to give her the ring. And So we go on this trip, have all kinds of adventures that are fun and interesting. And I'm sure I told you about the thing at the Medieval Times.
I think so.
Where I bought something thinking it was one thing, and it turned out to be far more embarrassing than that. And for reasons of just poor planning on my part, we got back from I drove to the Atlantic Ocean with her to do it on the beach on the Atlantic Ocean.
We were all in one rented vehicle.
Yeah. And that night we were going to Medieval Times, and they tell you exactly when you need to arrive.
Yeah.
And when we get back and pull in the driveway, they have a cab in the driveway. But as soon as they see us, they're headed toward us, and they're like, "What's going on? Where were you? We woke up. You weren't even here. No note. Because for me it was a surprise to give to Nicki." And we're like, well, we're sorry. We should have left a note. We just went somewhere, and they're like, well,
You're outside?
I think so.
And her dad was like, well, we can't talk about this now because we got to get our ass over to Medieval Times. And so
My father was very big on punctuality.
yeah,
The drill sergeant, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
If you're not 15 minutes early, you're late.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we pile into the car at the rental. We drive over to the place, and I'm immediately pissed off because we get there and we're only like 5-10 minutes late, and they tell us and other people who are coming to see the show that the show doesn't start for an hour, but you can spend that hour in the gift shop. Totally to make us buy gift shop shit. And so I'm like, so I just got my ass chewed out by her dad because they're trying to sell me crap, you know.
To be here to spend 10 more minutes in the gift shop.
And but obviously, and I kind of drift away from.
Thank you.
I kind of drift away from
The group.
the group because I know her dad schemed, and I don't have a reasonable answer right now. And so being away from them seemed like a safer thing for me.
And you hadn't given Nicki the ring yet. You didn't?
No.
Okay.
And as I'm wandering away from them, I come around a corner, and there's a little display of this software program they had on a computer that generates what looks like an old-timey medieval posting that you might see on a post. And they explain to you you can have it, we can put anything on here, you tell us what you want, we put it in the computer, and then the computer makes the thing. And I said, well, cool, can we make a announcement of our engagement? And they're like, yes, absolutely. And I'm like, cool, that's what we want. And then there's all kinds of questions. Would you like little crows in the corner or 3 owls making a pyramid? I mean, I'm answering this barrage of questions, most of that I don't care about, but I'm like, well, we'll have this cool thing to remember today by. And then they're like, okay, that's everything. Now you won't get this until about roughly halfway through the show, because it takes a little while for the computer to compile and print this out. And then we're going to put it in a plastic clear contact paper to make it safe. But don't worry, we'll bring it to your table during the thing. And I'm like, ooh, I wonder how that's going to work exactly. Because nobody knows, including Nicki. Well, Nicki now knows that we're engaged. And I'm just there going, huh? And we get inside, and I don't know if you've ever been to Medieval Times.
I have, yeah.
Well, you know how the chairs are all facing one direction.
Yep.
And we all sit down, and I'm at one end of our little grouping with Nicki next to me. And then next to her is her dad, and next to her dad is her mom,
Mm-hmm.
and then Kathy, and then Kathy's husband, David. And but we're all watching the show and eating turkey legs and doing the stuff that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I was paying for it, just before we came in, when they said, okay, that's all we need, and I started pulling money out to pay for it, they said, do you want the normal one or the deluxe? And I was like, what's the difference? And they're like, well, the deluxe just has a couple extra things, like, and then they showed me these 2 goblets.
Which we do still have.
Yep. And they're like, you'll get a pair of these goblets with your name stenciled on the bottom, and then blah, blah. And then they started listing things, and I went, oh, yeah, give me deluxe. Because I'm like, this is my fucking engagement.
Right. Go for it.
Not the time to be worried about money. So we're sitting there, and right around halfway through the festivities, the knights do a round of jousting, and then they ride off, and the master of ceremonies, the bard, steps out onto the big stage and does a whole hear ye, and makes some announcements, some that are just jokes, and then he comes to one and says, hear ye, the king wishes you all to know that beware of today being the engagement of
Blaine
and Nicki. And all of them, Nicki included, suddenly lean forward and look at me like, what? You're engaged? What's going on? And Nicki's face was slightly different. Her face was, I don't like to be put on the spot in public.
Right.
Why did you do this to me? So I'm busily saying to her, I didn't know they were going to do this. I didn't know. I'm sorry. Don't get mad at me. And then once I cleared the decks with Nicki, all of a sudden they all started asking Nicki questions.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of sat there. And in the car ride home from the medieval times, I had a more private conversation with her dad, who had some questions as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, by then we had the little map thingy and stuff, and she showed them the ring.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned out I got really lucky there, because when Nicki found out I designed it, and my thinking behind the various aspects of it, she thought that was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like cooler than a diamond would have been, because
Mm-hmm.
this was a unique ring, So my ring went from what I thought was down here, like up to up here, which was good, because I was worried about, failing my role.
Yep.
There. And then the year you spend planning your wedding happens, and we run into lots of problems, and I won't go into that, but we're slowly working our way through that year, and when we get back to Detroit from that trip, we talk about, maintaining 2 apartments is expensive. Maybe we should move in together at this point. And we decide that we should move into my apartment because it's bigger than hers.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a dog, and she didn't have a dog. So I don't think dogs were allowed in her apartment complex.
They were not.
And so we came to the conclusion we should move into Blaine's house until we're off campus, and then we'll look at something more permanent or whatever. But in the intervening time, she went to PCA, NCA, and which is a big banquet for her.
Our national conference.
Yeah. So she goes to that, and one of the things she does now, because she knows she's about to graduate or matriculate, is she starts looking into what jobs are out there, who's looking for what, and they have all kinds of useful information about that at the matriculation place. So she's starting to study about where does she want to live, how big a school, and she put a lot of thought into that, because when we would talk about it, and I would say, well, what do you want? She would have these like surgically precise descriptions about stuff that at first I'd go, why does that even matter? But then at some point I would get her to tell me why that matters, because it meant something about how the school operated. And then I was like, oh, I can see why you'd want that. And she goes to that, and while she's there, she talks to a lot of people, but she talks to Mary Alice, who falls in love with her and wants her to come down to Beaumont to check the university out, and then check her out to work there. And a couple months goes by. She graduates from school. She's now down to finishing her dissertation, and we're looking for.
You're not graduated until after your.
I know, but your classwork was done.
Yes, my classwork was done.
And I'm online trying to find us an apartment to move into that looks like it's in a good part of the city, that takes a dog, that's not far from school or her school. So, we're in full moving on out phase. And I skipped past the main reason I was telling you the story. The main reason I was telling you the story is when we got to that point where we're like, okay, I think we want to get married. And she said, I have one major concern. And I'm like, okay, and she's like, I've known you your whole life, and I know the kind of things you've done, and I'm not that kind of person that does those sorts of things. I don't go on adventures like you do. So I'm concerned I won't be able to make you happy because I don't go caving or whatever,
Or bungee jumping.
Or she knew every dumb thing I did my whole life. And so she's like, that could be a reason all by itself not to get married. And I thought about it for 4.5 minutes, and I came back and I said, in my opinion, that's not a problem at all, because I've done all those things. So the things that I might feel like I want to do that you wouldn't be comfortable with, I've already done. So I'm like someone who's already gone through their midlife crisis. I don't need to go through it again. That's not what's important to me now. If I never cave again, that's not going to be a problem. If I never find a woman to spend my life with, that'll be a problem. And it took a few days of dialogue to make her believe that was true. So that allowed us to move forward. But the only reason that she was able to take that step was because I could say, I've done that already. I don't need to do that again. And I do need to try to marry you if it's at all possible. And it turns out it was possible. We went through a lot of hell. And by the time we were actually standing there taking vows, our relationship had been tested more than once and pretty seriously. And a number of different kinds of ways as well. And so I, at least at that point, felt like she's seen me sick So I know she's not going to run away just because I'm sick.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was stuff like that. You know, we've had this problem and we got through it, so that's not going to be a problem,
Mm-hmm.
or not a big one. But anyway, the thing that I mean, I wasn't doing this on purpose as the perfect way to demonstrate to her she doesn't need to worry about that stuff. I was just telling her I don't think that's going to happen because I've already done it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to do it again. And it turns out that I didn't need to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And we had our own adventures too. And we immediately, when I moved to Detroit to be closer to her, we were doing things that I had never done before in the real world or anywhere else. And some of them required each of us to make certain sacrifices to be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And we were totally able to make those sacrifices and talk about it. I felt like that meant we had a good relationship. We could say, okay, I can't do that. That's not on the agenda. And we could have a conversation about that and work our way through it without either one of us totally losing their shit.
Mm-hmm.